thank you for coming here. I'm very happy because today I'm not going to be the MC, which is usually what I do here, and Iman is going to take care of that part. Just a very quick introduction as what to do here in this place that you might be interested to know. This is the first and only children's bookshop in Queensland, which we are proudly presenting 60 different languages for children. And at the moment, we are trying to work on even more languages to have for little readers, young readers, and that is going to be a huge task to do. Before we want to start this session, I'm going to just give you a very, very short memory of how I met the man who's going to start the session today. I had a phone call 5 years ago when I was in a cafe from the cafe itself, and I saved the cafe number because that was the place that I used to go. And the voice behind the phone was quite familiar, but I didn't know exactly who he is. Unless he introduced himself, and that was a surprise because I was in one of the most miserable times in my life, lost a couple of friends, quite lost myself, and this man was not the gentleman, the knight on the horse to come and save me, because I know that he's far away from my hometown, living in Australia. I knew that his father was murdered. I knew that he had quite a lot on his hand. And there he was in front of me, asking, what if I don't want to go back to Australia? And I was like, now you're going to stay with me here, saving me. And the fact that I was quite curious to live with this man was something that I never regretted, even to the time that I'm speaking to you. And we got married during the most crucial time of many people on this planet. We had our first baby, and it was just the two of us. And I could see his face in the labor room as he was just trying to encourage me to push and use all my energy to the last thing that I had just to give birth to our baby. And when I told him that I needed motivation in life to start what I was here in this world for, and to start a business, he was the one who said that he can support me. And then we started the business. And he was the one who pushed me on and on to go forward and achieve what I want to do. And this man is a person I trusted my life in. But all through this time, I was thinking, what makes him so reliable? Why can I trust him all the time? And why he can make the promises that he can do and commit to? So I am so proud to just be the person who introduced Iman as the MC of today to you. And I'm sure that you are in safe and good hands, and you're going to enjoy your time with Iman and further on with our special guest, Alex. Enjoy your time, and yes, Iman, I would like you to come. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning to you all. Tina mentioned some of those beautiful memories and I got a little bit emotional, so I try my best to not go that far. So hello and good morning, and thank you very much for joining us in this beautiful, lovely, sunny day. My name is Iman, and I'm a founder of TQM Lifestyle. And today I'm so happy to sit here in front of you all to talk about that very special thing that we all have, which is our self, and this beautiful event. For safety or safely reason, please be happy today and ask a lot of questions, because this is not a theater, it's a real life, and we are here to talk about a very, very unique asset that we have ourselves. So yeah, please feel free to ask as much as questions. First of all, I would like to thank Tino or Iwan Bookshop for giving us this opportunity. Yeah, Tina, she's so passionate about her life, and this is what I say, that it's an ingredient of love and ingredient of beauty. So thanks, Tina, for giving us this day. So self starts with love and beauty. So the moment that we all are passionate about future, the ingredient of beauty is a passion, so art and balance, which you can find all of them in our lovely friends that I just saw them. They came here in this bookshop. I saw John Liu, the master of John Liu. Hello. Yeah, Master John Liu and Ming Cheng, who will play some flourishing Chinese folk music today. So I will open this event with our lovely Chinese music. So Master John Liu is the director of Oz Oriental Orchestra. This is magnificent Chinese culture center, performing lots of concerts, lots of beautiful events and performances with all sorts of colors, dance, music, you name it. Please help me welcome Master John Liu with his lovely instrument called erhu.
John is preparing erhu. We just arrived, sorry about that. We didn't expect that there was a bit of congestion there. So John has a career of about over 40 years in playing erhu, and he's the director of Oz Oriental Orchestra. And so currently he is retired, but not really retired. He has been dedicating his time to help the music circle in the Chinese community, and he plays music, but also he's the conductor, the director of the orchestra. And annually we have one concert, a big concert in Sun Park every year in the end of the year, and so yeah, in the end of the year probably we'll get some information if you like to go for the concert. Without further ado, so here's Master John. So erhu is many of you know erhu is an instrument. It's a bit like string instrument, but two strings, very similar to the Iranian
Kamanche.
Kamanche, yes. Actually, it has the root in Western Asia. So in ancient China, we call that the Western regions. And it developed into China's erhu, but its roots is in there. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful instrument.
So I help bring the...
Yeah, sure. Okay, good, very good. Hello.
Sorry.
Would you like to have a one? Then you can see. so much. Actually, what a brilliant, beautiful, astonishing music. All right, so yeah, we all love music, so that's why we open all of our event with music. So before I officially read my intro for our guest, I'd like to mention this moment that I had with this gentleman. The first time I not met him, but talked to him was when Tina and we both were sitting in the coffee shop in Iran, talking about our projects and different things that we had at the time. We had our cultural center over there, life coaching business, different things. And then suddenly I got a phone call, Australia, and then so it was a gentleman called Alex, and then talking about the idea of creating a kind of business system in one of the largest mine industry businesses in Australia called BHP. And he wanted to basically create that system in the business. So we discussed around that topic, and he said that okay, let's do that. And then we moved to Australia back then. So Tina and we kind of immigrate or whatever officially. And it was after about like 3 months after our marriage, or more than that. So yeah, this is his fault that we are here now. So yes, and then we started doing that, and then it was fabulous experience that we had together, and a wonderful team that we had. So I had a lot of beautiful time with him and then his team. So our guest today is a great leader and coach. He works full-time at BHP as a technology manager, managing a multi-million-dollar capital portfolio with a mission to build the digital mind from the ground up. He is the head coach of Future Mindset, his company which has a mission to help others find a flourishing career through obtaining highly desirable and evergreen skills. He also loves investing and relied upon by his family and friends for advice in many asset classes. In work, life, and investing, you will find a strong theme of investing in oneself, especially in esteem, and in their lifelong journey of making a living, which we call professional self-care. This gentleman was born in Hong Kong, grew up in Melbourne, and came to Queensland for work, but now calls Brisbane home, because he is in love with the culture, belonging, inclusive workplaces this city provides. He is also the chairperson of Future Talent Committee at his workplace, where they collaborate with schools and universities to build rewarding STEM careers. QUT, UQ, JCU, Kenmore State High School, and Sunnybank State High School, to name some. This brings him here today to talk about his co-authored book, The Art of Self-Care, where he writes about the future mindset. Please help me welcome Alex Ma. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much for coming.
It's great to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's a kind of interesting journey we had together with Alex in BHP. So I learned a lot from him during my career in BHP, and then we had a lot of things in common, talking a lot about our self-development, because that is a part of his kind of idea in the team to make sure everyone basically grows well. So thank you very much, Alex, for joining us here today talking about this beautiful art of self-care. So Alex, can you please talk around the self? What do you mean by self, and what's self-care? And what is professional self-care?
Thanks, Iman, and hello everyone. Firstly, apologize with my voice. I assure you it's not flu and it's not COVID, but because our daughter started childcare a month and a half ago, she's bringing all sorts of diseases home. So it's a fourth one at the moment. Okay, and I know it's not the first two. Thank you, Iman. First thing first. So self-care is about giving the best of you instead of giving what's left of you, right? A lot of us are dependent upon, work with, or have responsibilities with our community, and in many instances we end up being more and more selfless, pouring ourselves into others and other missions, and oftenly neglect ourselves. So that's for me an introduction about self-care. To share a little bit, so my wife, who's here today, helping with some of the photos as well. We had our first daughter 21 months ago, and I was also very lucky with my current company to get to be a stay-at-home dad for eight months, just to set up the scene. But when I came back to work in May 2022, I came back. I was energized. I was ready to go, but I found many colleagues burned out. Like a lot of us, since the pandemic started, things have changed, right? And a lot of us are burned out. So I guess just an open question is how is life after COVID for ourselves, right? We've learned who is there for us, and we've learned how vulnerable our way of life can be. A lot of people are very impacted. So this book for me is this book that I've co-authored with 36 different co-authors is about a whole of life approach around. It's another guardrail for us on top of all the other safety nets that we have in our lives.
Yeah, awesome. And please feel free to raise your hand if you have any kind of questions as we go further. So yeah, we talk around the coaching, and this is a kind of not brand new but quite new concept in our lifestyle. Getting someone as a coach, as like often people are asking what's a coach and what's the difference between coaching and consulting.
That's a great question, Iman. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, we're gonna go for a break in the middle of this event, and for some refreshments. But also in the table in the back there, you'll see one of my pamphlets. So, but what I want to share this one is down the bottom here. I got a few things, I guess, around finding your tribe, and about what is a coach versus a mentor versus a consultant. So I might start with a supervisor. We all at work, we have a supervisor, right? And while they also look after your well-being, you might find that, and they help you grow, you might find that they will always have business asks, right, out of us. And in terms of a mentor, mentors teach us valuable lessons, and often casual and personal. You might have coffee with them once a year. And then one more thing about consultants would be, so consultants, you might go to them to give you guidance, right? But it's not, sometimes it's advice there and then in a moment. It's not a complete approach that I guess helps you on all of your objectives to close gaps and get to your ideal role at a specified time. So what I just described is a coach. A coach, because you hire them to help you, is to put together a plan to meet your objectives, to close gaps, and get you to your ideal role in your specified time. So that's a little bit far into like what my coaching is about. But I feel that from a professional self-care point of view, which I didn't explain before, my chapter in this book is about professional self-care, and what I want to really say to everyone is, it's less about the promotions. It's less about going up the rat race and so forth. It's about what do you actually do to get there? What are the skills along the way you want to collect that enable this? And have a plan for yourself, because it's less likely for someone else to have that plan for you. It's more likely for yourself to have that plan.
Yeah, that's awesome. I read this book, not all of the chapters deeply, but I went through this book when Alec gave me this signed book. That's quite fascinating book, and what I realized that is when you Google like coaching, you will realize that we have what they call it as a technique called GROW, and then R stands for reality or whatever our current life is or situation is. And then they will show you one of these things that they call it wheel of life. And then in this wheel of life, you have different categories. One is about health, one is about the financial, one is about the relationship, and then they will basically measure your circumstances. And then what I really enjoyed about this book is actually all of these 36 authors, they are professionals in their areas, and then basically they talk about those attributes, those categories. So one by one, like we can find, let's say for health, you have a fitness professional. For financial, you have financial advisor here. And it's fascinating about this book. And in professional, Alex is talking about that. So what do you think about this book in general? And because I mentioned that the STEM, or STEM, I would like you, if you can please mention that and talk about that. What does it mean, STEM, when we call it?
Thank you. So I might just use the book to remind myself. So just before COVID, I got a chance to meet Tracy Jewell, she's a wellness professional coach. So she coaches the coaches, if that makes sense, right? So when I met her, we talked a lot about what our passions are, and one of the things that really stood out is for me is that while we all offer our own aspect of expertise, there is something that gels everything together here, and I think it's a very personalized. It's all about interpersonal relationships, and all about yourself, and that's got me really interested in collaborating with Tracy. So this book, you'll find self-care about everything, and I just might share a few. So when you start getting into the book, you've got some great ones to look at. So for example, there is emotional self-care. There's a lot in there about resilience, how your situation may drive your thoughts and behavior and feelings, and to be honest, you can. So the feelings, you feel it, right? Can't control that, but you can control your behaviors and your thoughts. So that's Deb Griffiths writes a lot about that, which is really great. There's physical self-care, about nutrition and mindset. A lot of that comes together as well. I might jump down to, for example, James Yates in the practical self-care session. He's a professional and an executive coach, but a lot of his work is about your morning routine. In fact, he believes that your entire day and your entire year, it's all about how you manage your mornings. It's so fascinating. He gives a lot of great tips there, and that's also why actually I practiced a bit of that this morning, and I feel really ready up to the challenge today. There's a lot of things in there like affirmations. You got to believe in it, right? You journal about it and reflect on it, and that's how you grow. In fact, I think it's Ray Dalio that mentioned, I forgot what the first one is. It's something along the lines of doing something and then reflecting. Doing plus reflecting equals to growing, right? So that I really like that as well. There's lots of soul and spiritual about energy. So there's many different ways, modalities that you can connect with yourself and your environment. So there's a lot of that in there as well. So that's just sharing a bit about the book. And my passion, which Iman has already shared, is about STEM. I'll talk about STEM in a second. But firstly, I forgot already, I should really in the beginning thank everyone here for coming. In fact, a lot of you are here to support me. So, I think that if you get to learn a bit about the book and take something out of it, I'm really thankful. But a lot of here are purely here to enjoy this moment with me. So I'm really grateful that everyone's here today. Thank you so much. So about STEM, stands for Science, Technology, Engineering and Maths. And something that I really want to share here is that this part of humanity is not going away. We are having a huge digital transformation in this whole world, and to be honest, if in the future, a lot of these desirable skills, the most highly desirable skills, I feel are in this area, in the fields of STEM. So let me explain a bit more of that in a second. As Iman mentioned, I work with a lot of, universities, schools, and it took me to I worked with Qantas, CSIRO, on some of the great work and competitions they run. And even the Queensland government, which got me on Channel 10 once in a TV show called, I think it's called Coding at Home. Something like that. I forgot the name, sorry. It was teaching our primary school students how to code and program, right? That's amazing. When my father, in the information age, this is 30 years ago, had his biggest chunk of his career in IT, right? People were desperate for people that knew programming and so on. But in the future, especially in professional workplaces and corporate workplaces, I can guarantee you that 70% of people understand coding to some form. Right? I think we're 5 years away from that. So it's not hard as well. As I share with you, it's just the kids are learning that. So something to think about. I'm talking a lot, but I'm really passionate. There's something I want to share with everyone today. It's not in the book, but it's my case for why learn STEM, right? Normally I have a nice presentation, and I share this with lots of schools and universities, and it's a hitter, a hit amongst all of them, which is that. So when you think of all the information in the world combined, okay, from the beginning of time, and even think about maybe in Egypt when they had ancient Egypt, the tablets, right? So not the tablets we have today when we're scrolling with our fingers, the tablets where we're writing hieroglyphs on the piece of stone. If you include all of that information up to the year 2005, there is 130 exabytes of information in the world. So some of you might buy a hard disk called terabyte, right? Terabyte hard disk, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, whatever. If you go 1,000 more than that, it's called anyone know? It's okay. I don't know. I didn't know before. It's called a petabyte. Okay. From terabyte goes to petabyte, and then from petabyte it goes to exabytes, which is what I explained. Okay. So remember exabytes. 5 years later, in 2010, in this world there is 1,200 exabytes of information in this world. So like 8 times ish. 5 years later, 2015. 7,900 exabytes of information. 2020, 2 years ago, 40,900 exabytes of information. So it's growing exponentially since then. So, and yet in the book I have a statistic. It's around, I think it's 68% of data created in this world is never ever used. Okay, in businesses, it's crazy when we talk about businesses being analytical and so forth. So why am I sharing this? It's because businesses that are empowered by data perform better. We all can perform better as workers or in our lives with more digital, skill sets. And I think it speaks for itself, right? That point. So please, if you could take anything else, nothing else from this, a digital curiosity. I talk about it a lot, digital curiosity. Keep it somewhere around you, near you, and keep learning, because it's going to be the way of the future. Yep. Sorry, it was
That's
long.
all right. Any questions or yeah, please.
I have haven't read through the book, but looking at the title, I expect it to be something like what he's saying here about mindful living.
Yes.
So self-care and mindful living, and to me is to be present-minded
Yes.
in the present moment. And so when I look at your the chapter that you wrote about the future mindset and also about STEM, then I thought, oh, how do I combine all these keywords organically into one book? How are they related? So about you just talked about STEM and the amount of data we have generated and whether it is useful for us, or are we lost and drowned in that amount of data? How do we keep being mindful and of the self-care in this era ruled by data?
Very good question. I guess in my chapter, I focus a lot on learning. So learning the fundamental skills. For example, some of you here know about data science, and we talk a lot about it. It's in businesses it gets thrown around a lot. Okay, and I guess in terms of learning, one part of the answer I have here is make sure you go and learn the foundations of how things are done, and don't let the stack and the layers of complexity in different systems, different knowledge areas drive you away from your purpose and your mission in whatever it is at work, right? So in my chapter, I talk a lot about purposefully, for example, in networking, purposefully tackling certain achievable outcomes, right? Rather than just jump in and do something. So yeah, a lot for me specifically about the professional side. It's about having a plan, right, and then gaining a focus. But more importantly, on that point around lifestyle and living, there is a great chapter in there. Let me have a quick look. Certainly, James Yates, as I explained before already, has explained that. But I believe in the soul, spiritual, and energy self-care section, Amanda Abazi and Karen Rose talk about, on top of energy and healing, they talk about transitioning in your environment. So I think this is the important point I want to share with everyone is about giving yourself a space in between your current activity and the next one. And if you have a phone and you have lots of notifications bombarding you with different social media platforms day in, day out, you're not going to get that. You're not going to be able to present yourself 100% in your next activity. So what I try to do at home, as my wife knows and as she has plenty of patience for, when I work at home, I have my office, right? I have my own space there for work. But when I'm at the around 5 o'clock, 5:30, when we need to go into Evie's evening routine, from dinner to bed, what I do is I give myself that 3 minutes to not think any about work, think about the upcoming task, give myself a space between them. I find that gives me the room to give my whole self to the next task. Yeah, I know. There's so much to cover there, but I think that's one part of it.
Hey Alex. Alex and I have worked a lot over the last few years in professional development, so my question is going to relate to that. And I think it's an interesting segue. The last point, the question that was asked was a really important one. I think all too often we do feel overwhelmed with the amount of information and stuff to do and tasks and everything else. And so I think it's a very important point that we need to find space for that. More specifically, because I think that's generalistically in and out of work, I think that's something that a lot of us, if not most of us, experience. From a workplace point of view, what would you see as being the key barriers to self-care and growth? And very basically, because I realise you could talk about this for days, but what are some of the sort of strategies you would advise for overcoming them, both from a personal point of view and sometimes from the people and things that stop us from doing that?
No, thanks, Sam. I think I can answer that question with something that is important as far as the book as well, my framework. So we talked about lots of data, lots of disruption, and I guess, my first answer in the beginning was around picking up the skills, right? So in my, I guess my framework, when I share with the people I coach, there you might have seen a diagram in there, and there's the 4 key areas, which is covered by the learning aspect all around. Continuous learning is channels itself through all the 4 areas. One of the 4 pillars is realizing your ideal role, and in there I talk about what a coach can do for you, but more importantly, in there it's about getting the best advice you can get for something. So, and I hope to answer the previous question too about this is, so as an example, I'm very lucky in where I do at work, where a lot of resumes come across my desk because I have a team, I have to build a team. So in my lifetime, I've already seen at least 4,000 resumes come across my desk, right? I've interviewed people 70 times at least, 1-hour sessions. That's a lot of time in my life, I'm thinking about it now. But what I wanted to share is, so therefore my advice, if you're looking to how do I show up the best on game day when it comes to applying for a new job, is rely on the expert for that particular task or event. They will help you declutter and remove away all the noise, all the data we talked about. Maybe there's a statistic that doesn't really matter in this particular instance. So if you're looking to embark on something, like if I wanted to have a book launch event in a bookstore, I came to my friend Iman and Tina to do that. So I think personal relationships, everyone you meet along the way in your life, that people aspect is going to lead us on the right path more often than digging through all this data and all these other things at work that are noise. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, awesome. And it's quite important to understand the concept of growth that I heard about. That what I think is always I'm asking about the measurements of grow. Let's say in coaching they're saying that they're looking at grow as a kind of acronym for goal setting, for reality, for options, and for willingness or willing. But what I always ask a lot of different people, what do you think of grow, and how do you measure grow to grow good? We don't want to just grow. We want to grow well. We want to grow good. So, what are the key measurements for you? I mean, to measure the grow, to make that sustainable.
Thank you. That's a really good question as well, Iman. By the way, just so we prepare for the time ahead. Do you want to share when we might do a break?
Yeah. We will have like in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes.
We will have after this. We will have a look through this reflection journal a little bit, and then we will have a short break.
Yeah. So please don't. We've got plenty of time to questions, and I know everyone's got their plans for the day, so I'll just give you a heads up. So we're going to break, and then we're going to come back again to talk more, and welcome everyone to stay. But if you need to go, feel free.
Yeah, and then after break we will have about half an hour, all questions, and then
I'll be here.
After that we will be here. So.
No, thank you for that. So we're talking about growing and how do we measure it, right, Iman? So I'd like to also share a story and also a bit about the framework inside the book, really key to how I measure how well are we doing with growing. So first up, I just want to share a moment that I was probably one of the most loneliest moments in my life was actually at the very start of my career. And some of you know I work for BHP, and that was in 2010 when I left Melbourne, where I grew up. For the first time in my life, I left my parents. So we had that whole moment at the airport where I see it. First time I'm living somewhere else. And goodbyes and hugs and crying. And then I went on the plane, and it was the first Qantas plane was great. It was business class, great. So BHP got me up on business class. enjoyed the glitz and glamour and so on. And then the second flight, which you cannot get a business class on, some of you will know, from Brisbane to Moranbah was a prop plane. The first time I took a prop plane, and it was a bit daunting because I was flying to a town, for me, in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know if it was a desert or a forest or whatever. In Moranbah, it was a mining town in regional Queensland. And I felt the loneliest I've ever been in my life because my friends were back in Melbourne. My parents were back in Melbourne. So I just want to paint a picture around how I grew along this period of time, right? But what I knew is I'm taking a leap of faith, I'm going somewhere else, I might as well make the most of it, right? So in my head, it was all about learning. And so now, I want to talk about many successful people. When you ask them what is the cause of your success, what is the driver, how did you get there, they will tell you many different stories, including very often I met the right people at the right time, the things came together, okay? But when I'm a very analytical person, some of you might know, and when I go, take everything else away that you cannot control, what are the things within your control that cause all of this? And so now I want to bring up the notion of the cornerstones that you create in your career. Cornerstones. Cornerstones gets referenced many times in my chapter. And what it is cornerstones, little cornerstones are the first three pillars of my book, being the opportunity to learn. So four I should call it. So the first one is endless learning, right, about STEM. Second one is opportunity to learn. Third one is opportunity to create. And then the next one is opportunity to participate. All of these are very actionable and doable things in your everyday workplace with all your colleagues, with even outside of work as well. That lead to the fifth one, which is realizing your ideal role when you get into your next role. But even then, it doesn't end right, because then there's another role after that. So I personally bring it down to the more of the little cornerstones you create along the way, the faster the big ones come. The big one, which is maybe a life event or a promotion. So in fact, my last punchline on that one is that, in fact, while you don't know exactly when the big milestone, the cornerstone comes, the little ones will guarantee it's an eventuality that the big one comes along. Hopefully that made a lot of sense for everyone.
Thank you. So before we have a break, before we go to the break, can you talk around this reflection journal?
Yep.
So everyone can, because I found this one, actually this book is all about workbook. It's not a book to read and then, but this reflection journal, it's a very nice tool to have as a side of this book. So can you please
Thanks,
talk
Iman.
about that?
Yeah, so we've got some copies over there on the table during the break, which you have a look at. And this one, it released after Iman and I put the book club together, which is why it's a bit separate. But it's a reflection journal. So it's okay if you're shy too, but maybe a show of hands, anyone that does any journaling? It's part of every day. Yep, we've got a few. So I can tell you that it's very powerful journaling, and I don't know the exact number, but I reckon at least 9 of these coaches recommend journaling as part of your everyday inside the book. So that's why we also, for the book, for this Art of Self-Care book, we created the Reflection Journal, which is like a journal book. You can write, there's many questions along the way that help prompt your mindset, drive your thinking. So journaling allows you to reflect, allows you to drive your thinking and solidify some of your plans and your thoughts. And if, I'll just go to any one section. We make sure that the questions we put on here resonate or basically ground the main principles of our chapter. So for example, there's a professional self-care one from Erin, and there's questions like, what would make me excited to go to work every day? Right. What can I systemize and automate about my life and work today to make it easier? What are my values? So I really recommend this. If you, I mentioned at the very beginning that this book is meant to be an extra guardrail for everybody, aside from your networks, your support groups. And for example, if you would like me to be a coach one day, as another guardrail. But this book, you can do it, and it's so today. What we've got is originally this is listed on Booktopia for $25, same price as the self-care book. Today these are my personal stock copies. I'm doing a combination deal for $19 today. If you like to purchase one, you can grab one, and Tina will help you out at the counter. But basically, if you have this together, you can also manage your self-care yourself. That's my pitch here about it. Please go and please have a look about it. Please have a look at it, because I think this allows us to be purposeful with our time and use of our time. And if self-care is important to you, then you can practice it.
Oh, wonderful. And we will go through this after break as well, and then we will discuss around that as well. So thank you very much, Alex, and thank you very much for listening. We will go to have a around short break, like 10 minutes break, and then feel free to enjoy those beautiful Chinese Asian taste cupcakes, beautiful tastes. Made by
let me say, made by a Chinese person, I'll call it, which is my lovely wife Rachel sitting in the back there. Help yourself to cupcakes, and we've got some mints as well.
And if you want to order coffee with it, it's fantastic with it. So enjoy that, and we'll come back in 10 minutes, let's say 12:10.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
开始的时候跟他说一下，把他那个品牌。
Excuse me. You will have beautiful, wonderful music.
OK。那就告诉他。
So for the next piece, I would like to first start with a little quiz. Does anyone know about this? No. Okay, so quite often if I put it in a bag, people might mistake it as a walk. But I know there's an instrument people call pan. It has a similar sound to this. So it's similar sound to the hand pan, but it's called steel time drum or 空灵鼓 in Chinese. And it has a sound that is very healing to me and very suitable for meditation somehow. And the piece I'm going to play is called pipa. Pipa is the sound of pipa instrument. And my son was actually worried that he said, well, this morning he wanted to come with me. He wants to make sure that I'm playing it right.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're just doing a launch, so but feel free to talk to Tina in the back, ladies. Feel free to.
Hey. Thank you very much, Min Chen and John Du, for this beautiful music. Hopefully we will have this type of music more in our bookshop. All right, so hope you enjoy those beautiful cupcakes and your time talking and discussing around these books. We will continue asking some questions from Alex, and please feel free to ask more. So, Alex, you are working with younger generation in different businesses, different areas. So, what do you think of their thoughts around STEM, around future, and around their careers? What do you think of? What do they think of their future?
Thank you, Iman. So that's a pretty good question. I actually talked to one of us here just about it just now. If some of you have children like myself, and in Asian cultures is extremely important around giving your next generation the best possible education you can give them. So this is a topic that comes up all the time especially in my family, So firstly, from my point of view, yeah, just give them the best education you give them around some exposure for them to find what they like. I suppose what I'm noticing as a change in the generation growing up now, rather than when I grew up, is I guess they're already digital natives, right? We talk about this digital natives terminology. And so the way they communicate completely different to how we do or even I do. Sometimes some people call, if I can call myself like a millennial Gen X or something, like somewhere around there. There's a bridging generation that understands both what used to happen when it was landline phones and modems and so on, right, before that time, and then also the younger generation now, which there's actually a name for them. So we talk about Gen Z a lot, right? Gen Z, new ones in the workforce right now. The next one, anyone know what the next generation is called after that? After Z? So it's Generation Alpha. That's what we've called them especially in research and so forth. They're calling them Generation Alpha, and these individuals growing up, it's important for their mindset to expand it's important for this generation to continue to expand what exposure they have with all of the knowledge, skills, and different areas of knowledge. Because what happens is this: we're seeing in workplaces now with Gen Z, but it will happen even more in Gen Alpha, is that the workers or us, we're taking back the workplace. We demand what we want to see the workplace to be like, and because there's going to be more and more of us, I'll just call it, workplaces are going to change, right? The way it's a lot of the rules are set top down is going to completely change up and coming. So these generations coming up are very empowered to go for what they want. Yet, and I keep it very high level, okay? Keep it high. Yet they haven't been through the failures and the challenges through their life to know what I know, right? To know what some of you know about. No, that's not going to work, right? so that's going to be an interesting equation to play with. Some of the book, not book, sorry. In my coaching, there's something we call new ways of working. New ways of working in BHP, for example, is a big phrase just about how do we now, given so many different hybrid modes of working, how do we work together? So that's as much I'll say on that topic, but yeah, completely different to before, right?
Yeah, that's right. Any questions, or I continue?
I don't think it's a question so much as an observation. Again, the space that you know working, Alex, is that I think there seems to be an increasing appreciation of the fact that when you come out of university or you do an apprenticeship, whatever, you're really just building those technical skills. And by technical, we don't just mean things in the STEM space, like for everyone else, you know, obviously the act of doing the job. And there seems to be a growing understanding of the need for social and commercial skills now. And it's interesting, I'd be interested on your thoughts on how that's being addressed. And again, for the benefit of everyone else, leadership and business skills that aren't embedded in almost all, you know, so undergraduate sort of qualifications and other forms of learning, because these are the things that are often missing, right? And I'd be interested on your take on how that's going to change going forward, if at all, you know. But
thanks, Seb. That's actually a really good and topical question. So I don't have the pamphlet here anymore, but on the flyer. Actually, it's one of the things that I find very relevant on the front here, I have on the right hand side, I welcome, and I said, there aren't any textbooks that teach you how to build your professional career and find your ideal next role, and et cetera, et cetera. So just to say that I'm aware of this problem. I guess one of my solutions to bridge that gap personally is, of course, you can find a professional coach, and I'm not the only one. There's plenty out there that focus on this, because many of them I've done it for 3 years now, so I've helped a handful. I've successfully helped 16 individuals get to where they want to get to, and I'm really, really happy with that through the 2 courses, for the 2 programs I have in here. But what, I guess, to answer that question is that these concepts that some share around what it's called, micro credentials or soft skill learning, I feel that needs to come into the mainstream, right? Because if you know all of the technical, but you don't know how to convey, work with, collaborate, it's not going to be as effective for humanity as it could be. Yeah.
Awesome. The beautiful things about this book, what I realize is, after each chapter or after each talk around any categories, there is a direct kind of communication, like Instagram of the author.
Oh, right, yes.
And then some promotions or whatever, so you can we can find out, and we can contact them directly. And the concept of the coaching, as I mentioned before, and the good thing about this is it's basically growing in all different aspects. This is one of the basically example of wheel of life, that we can see that in every category you can say from 0 to 10, each person can be different, and you can see that we want to grow in the whole circle together, so we can find out which areas of opportunities that we can work on ourselves. So it's a self-examine, or if we want to find someone as a coach, general coach or professional in any aspect, so we can find someone to help us with all of those different questions, so where we are at the moment. And with these 2 books we can do it for ourselves as well. So this is actually what we call it in the coaching, what we call it wheel of life, that in different categories we can find someone in this book to communicate with. So that's what I really enjoy this book about. And for the question, another question is, what inspired you to write this chapter about the future mindset?
Well, thanks, Iman. I guess as I shared, I've been professional coaching for 3 years now, and I worked subcontracted to another company at the beginning as well, where I learned their framework. But actually, when I wrote this book is when I came up with how to express everything I'm teaching, which is what now I call the future mindset. And as you saw the diagram in the book about those 5 pillars. So the reason why I guess I wrote this is that, of course, hoping as a selfless person, as all of us have a selfless side, what makes me happy and passionate is that I can help others get to where they want to in their career. And I know for a fact that for a lot of people, that would be much higher than where I personally will ever want to go. I don't really need, my personal ambitions, I know where it is, I'm very happy where I am. But if there's someone out there that has a dream, I don't want them to feel, I suppose, in a situation where they feel like they don't know where they're going, they don't know what they can do about going towards the destination where they want to go. And I feel very proud, or also just very happy that I can help others find all of those things. And the book, the framework, is trying to document that, right? How do I see the world and those steps to get people where they want to get to.
Awesome. And before I ask the last question, I will take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Any questions? Any other? Right. Okay. So my last question is: what advice would you give if someone is not where they want to be in their career?
Okay. Just making sure I cover what I wanted to cover amongst all the questions. Yeah. So this one is quite easy. So I have three very level of how much you want to invest in it. 3 points of advice. The first one is read the book, right, and also use it as a guardrail. So that's yourself. You can actually put a guardrail around or guide yourself towards where you want to go. Okay. The second advice is rely on your network and the people around you. Get advice, right? So because then there's more than you involved. You might therefore be more committed to something as well if you share your ambitions and your plans out into the world. Very, very interesting how that happens, right? I hope all of you have experienced a bit of this, where if you put it out into the world, it's much more likely than if you kept it bottled inside you, right, for forever. So, and the third one is if you financially want to invest in that, of course, I wanted to say today that I offer that professional coaching service myself, but I want to do a very quick activity. So I promise it's not going to be taking anyone out of their comfort zones, but it does require us to stand up. If it's very quick. I just want to show you this activity, something. So, all right, I'm going to give everyone an instruction, which is to raise your arm, whether it's your left or right, whatever you prefer, as high as you possibly can raise it. Okay. All right. All right, that's pretty high. Very, very, very good, guys. Okay. Now I'm going to. As a coach, I'll say, go again. You can reach even higher. Try even higher. Can you reach even higher? Yeah? Okay? All right. Okay, thank you. So, okay, we can sit down now. But what I guess in that is very interesting, our mindsets, right? And why I call this flourishing mindset is if you rely on your own, I already told you to reach as high as you possibly can, you already have, right? But then who found that they got even a little bit higher when I asked you the second time, right? Yeah. So I guess that's the power of someone being able to guide you. And I mean, again, not talking about it for myself, but now you also have a wealth of 36 experts that you can go look them up on different channels and contact them, have a personal relationship with them to guide you as well.
Thank you very much, Alex. Is there any other questions that you think I should ask, but I didn't?
No, all good. I think I'm more happy to take any questions. I've got a couple more stories to share.
So
I've got a question, Alex, just around the Wheel of Life exercise that you mentioned. What's the best way to go about doing that, and how do we integrate that? Say we've got professional development or learning plans that we've got to feed into. How do we take what we do in that exercise and then maybe feed that into a learning development plan?
That's a really good question. So the wheel of life, were you referring to the drone model here?
Yeah.
So that wasn't my model actually.
Yeah, that's a general coaching model that when you get a coach, they will work through this, so you can basically talk around different categories. What you can do generally, you can read all of the book, and then you can finalize, basically give you a number from 0 to 10. Let's say, where do you find yourself as a financial freedom or independency? So you can give 5 or 6 or whatever. 0 is worse, and 10 is excellent. So you can give your own your score, and then you can find other areas as well, like relationship, your community, and career, as Alex mentioned. So you can do it yourself, or you can ask someone as a coach.
Actually, I can add to that too, Iman, if it's okay. So that's a really good question, because what I find myself having done in the past is you sit down with a supervisor about your professional development, right? And as we know, of the language in BHP is development plan, right? And a lot of times, as I said, there's some other biases coming in, there's some agenda coming in, right? So, and if you did it right, if you did a development plan right, it would be the development plan for you, and it would be exactly the same no matter who you did it with, right? In real life, it doesn't happen that way. But what I wanted to share here is that wheel, and similar to in my program, I guess. Again, I'm telling you what I do myself is in the beginning, you want to do an assessment of where you are, gap analysis, work out where you are, and then you determine where you want to focus for the next period. Because you can never get everything done in one period, right? So what I would advise there is use whatever tools you have to map out where you want to focus on, right? And then get the right help or find the right area to seek the help from to assist yourself there. And if you do it right, again, I should say, again, being that future mindset is about what can you do for yourself rather than focusing on promotions and what can you do for others. It should be the same every time. It should be just about developing yourself. In fact, I remember a quote from one of the other authors is along the line, so it's a paraphrase of my quote, is along the lines of if you are not, if you don't become who you want to become or who you actually are, then you are giving a disservice to the world. If you become who you are in the very end, you've done it right. Yeah.
I've got a follow-up question. You talked about the importance of drawing on your support network in terms of that literacy, learning and development. Do you have any, advice in terms of how do we go about picking out the mentors and coaches and the people around you to kind of support you on your journey?
Great question. That could actually be a planted question as well if I were to run this longer. So a lot of people ask me networking, Alex, what's networking about? How do I win networking, right? So from a social aspect, you can't win networking, right? It's all about just connecting yourself with more people and then having some support from different people in your network. But what I talk about a lot I share with the people I coach, there are 4 people you need professionally in your career, right? That you need to network and find, okay? The first one is a sponsor. So a sponsor is the type of person in the business with some authority or power that can land you your next job, right? And the criteria is they gotta like you enough to score you at least a 9 out of 10. Okay, if they don't qualify for both of those things, then they're not a sponsor for you. So a lot of us get mixed up, but that's sponsor. Second one you want in your life is you want mentors, many of them, where you don't have to have a formal relationship with them. You just casually, you know that they can help you. You can learn off them. Just have coffee with them once in a while. That's the second type of person you want. The third type I've got is a coach. Of course, if you have something you need to get to, set yourself a certain time. Why not have someone help you get there that knows how to do it, rather than rather than yourself not knowing individual steps. Fourth one, and about networking, for me is you need a fan. A fan of you is someone that doesn't have to be anyone with power, but anyone in your team, your colleagues around you that would vouch for you. They will say in a meeting that this person has done a great job. And because all of those things, I mentioned cornerstones, they create those cornerstones and opportunities in the future if you have all 4 of these type of people. Yeah.
How would you find the difference between a mentor and a coach?
Yeah, I covered it before just now, but what is an important point, so I want to cover it again. So, which is that a mentor is a casual and, to be honest, non-committal, right? Yeah. So the relationship. Whereas a coach, you're in my case, if you pay me, then I'm actually committed to get you to your destination at your set time, right? So, and we, for all of the people I've worked with, they have done that, and I have worked with them on their plan of how they can get there by that time. Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions or ideas to share? Awesome. Thank you very much, Alex, and thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. I love it.
Going once, going twice.
When you mentioned that the right way to know who you are, I want to know that how can we know who you are?
A very, very good question as well. So I write only very little about it in the book, but the 2 people that wrote a lot about it in professional self-care is Brian Kilworth. So about meaning, he writes about meaningful work. So find meaning in your work, and if you find meaning in your work, it will define you as well. So there's a, and his higher level concept is about life design, about making everything around you be in sync with what you want to achieve. The other person, Tania Maria Jara. She writes about purposeful work. So she helps you on a journey of finding what your purpose is from a professional point of view, and lots. She wrote a lot about it. Right? So yeah, I can talk forever about too, but I think those two are great experts.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Thank you.